Beneath the gleaming facade of Texas estates synonymous with boundless opportunity, sprawling ranches and towering skyscrapers lies a grim, unspoken truth. While politicians trumpet economic triumphs and the Lone Star State's unyielding ambition, a humanitarian catastrophe festers in plain sight. Thousands of Texans are abandoned to the streets, stripped of shelter, hope, and dignity. Homelessness in Texas isn't just a number on a report, it's a raw, visceral crisis, a shameful betrayal of a state that claims to have it all. This is a story of shattered systems, hollow promises, and human beings reduced to mere shadows in a land of plenty. But it's also a rallying cry, a chance to reclaim our compassion and confront a crisis that demands action. Before we plunge into the heart of this gut-wrenching reality, take a moment to engage. Like this content, subscribe to our channel and share your thoughts below. Your support isn't just a click, it's a lifeline for those whose voices have been silenced by exhaustion and despair. Together, we can amplify their stories, demand change, and become the voice for those too weary to speak. Let's ignite a movement to restore humanity where it's been forgotten. Daughters of January 2024. Texas is home to 27,129 individuals grappling with homelessness. Pause and let that number hit you. 27,129. That's a population larger than many small towns, scattered across streets, under bridges, and in makeshift camps. This staggering figure ranks Texas among the worst states in the nation for addressing homelessness, a stark contradiction to its image of prosperity. According to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, this number reflects a 12% surge from the previous year, driven by a toxic trifecta: skyrocketing rents, stagnant wages, and a social safety net so frayed it's practically non-existent. These aren't just statistics, they're people. Mothers huddling with their children in cars parked behind grocery stores, praying for safety. Veterans who fought for this country, now scrounging for a dry place to sleep. Children heading to school, unsure if they'll have a meal that night. Each carries a story society has trained itself to ignore. In a state as wealthy and proud as Texas, the homeless are a silent indictment of a system that prioritizes profit over people, rewarding greed while abandoning those in desperate need. The COVID-19 pandemic poured fuel on an already raging fire. Housing insecurity exploded into a national emergency, and while emergency housing vouchers offer temporary relief to thousands in Texas, they're a band-aid on a gaping wound. Most of these vouchers are set to expire by the end of 2026, and with no robust replacement policy on the horizon, another wave of evictions and homelessness looms. In today's polarized political climate, the odds of a meaningful federal response are razor-thin. Then came the hurricanes of 2024, slamming the Gulf Coast with unrelenting force. Entire neighborhoods were swallowed by floodwaters, and families already teetering on the edge lost everything. These storms didn't just destroy homes. They shattered lives, leaving countless Texans displaced with nowhere to turn. The result? A sharp spike in homelessness, as people who had clung to stability by their fingertips were cast into the streets. Texas sells itself as the land of opportunity, where hard work guarantees success. But for the 11,700 Texans sleeping on the streets, that promise rings hollow, a cruel mockery of their daily struggle. The homeless in America, and especially in Texas, aren't invisible, they've simply been ignored. Every day we look away, we become complicit in a failure that defines who we are as a society. It's time to stop pretending they don't exist. Texas's major cities, Houston, Austin, and Dallas, are ground zero for this crisis, where booming economies collide with raw human suffering. Houston's The Way Home initiative has been a beacon of hope, slashing homelessness by 60% since 2011 through a housing-first approach. It's proof that solutions exist when we commit to them. Yet, thousands still languish in tents and shelters, a testament to the limits of even the best-intentioned plans. In Austin, the tech boom has sent rents soaring, pricing out the working class. A modest apartment now averages $1,800 a month, unreachable. For many, despite millions poured into services, over 2,500 people remain homeless. trapped in a web of political gridlock and public resistance to solutions like affordable housing. The city's efforts are commendable, but fall short of the scale needed to tackle the crisis. Dallas offers a glimmer of progress, with a 16% drop in homelessness from 2022 to 2024, fueled by a $72 million investment in housing and services. But this success is fragile, teetering on the edge as federal aid dries up. Without sustained funding, Dallas's gains could unravel, leaving more people exposed to the streets. These cities are fighting, but the battle is uphill. The issue isn't just poverty or policy, it's a mindset. Too often, we treat the homeless as problems to be swept away rather than people to be supported. Until we shift that perspective, no amount of money or programs will fully mend what's broken. In Texas, the term safety net feels like a bitter irony. For the thousands struggling to survive on the streets, it's not a net, it's a labyrinth designed to let them fall. Access to health care, for instance, is a nightmare. For someone without a home, seeing a doctor is a Herculean task. Most end up in emergency rooms, often when conditions have spiraled into crises, racking up an average of $23.00 in annual medical costs per person. Taxpayers bear the burden while untreated illnesses, injuries, infections, and mental health crises fester. Emergency rooms have become the default clinics for the homeless in America, but they're not equipped for long-term care, let alone the deep psychological trauma that homelessness amplifies. Mental health issues and addiction are both causes and consequences of homelessness, yet Texas ranks near the bottom nationally for mental health funding. Beds, therapists, and community programs are scarce, and waiting lists stretch for months if you can even get on one. It's like telling someone drowning in the ocean to wait for a lifeboat next summer. The system isn't just broken, it's indifferent. Then there's the myth of just get a job. It sounds simple, but for someone without a shower, clean clothes, an ID, or a permanent address, it's a cruel taunt. Many job applications still require a fixed address, something tens of thousands of Texans lack. Job training programs, when they exist, are often buried in bureaucracy or designed for people who've already cleared hurdles the homeless can't reach. It's like offering a ladder with the first 5 rungs missing. Texas boasts a low unemployment rate, crowing about opportunity, but that means nothing to the man sleeping behind a dumpster, passed over for jobs because he looks unprofessional. It's meaningless to the single mother who can't leave her tent without risking her few possessions being stolen. The problem isn't a lack of desire to work, it's a world rigged against their success. Worse still, survival itself is criminalized. In Texas, basic human acts, sitting, sleeping, or asking for help on the street can land you a ticket or an arrest. Panhandling, loitering, or setting up a peaceful camp are treated as crimes. The 2020 Supreme Court decision in Grants Pass v. Johnson gave cities a legal green light to fine and jail people simply for being unhoused, and Texas wasted no time embracing it. This isn't policy, it's cruelty. Arresting someone for sleeping outside when they have nowhere else to go doesn't solve the problem, it creates new ones. A criminal record becomes another shackle, making it nearly impossible to find work or housing. We claim to be tough on crime, but the real crime is letting people suffer in one of the wealthiest states in the nation. The homeless in America aren't just failed by systems, they're punished for existing. When did survival become a crime? When did we decide a citation was cheaper than compassion? The truth is, it's not cheaper, it's just easier. Easier to look away, easier to blame, easier to arrest than to help. But easier isn't right. Homelessness isn't a private struggle, it's a public crisis that touches us all. When people lack safe housing, public health suffers, chronic illnesses go untreated, mental health deteriorates, and disease is spread faster when hygiene is a luxury. Communities feel the strain as services buckle under the weight of demand, and fear creeps in instead of seeing neighbors in need. Too many see the homeless as threats, fueling division and making solutions harder to achieve. Cities spend millions on police sweeps and emergency responses, but it's a losing game. Housing first programs which provide stable homes before tackling other challenges. are proven to be more humane and cost-effective, with retention rates as high as 90%. Yet Texas leans the other way, doubling down on punitive laws like public camping bans that push people deeper into the shadows. The Grants Pass decision only emboldens this approach, letting cities hide the crisis rather than fix it. This is the face of homelessness in America: policy failures, misplaced priorities, and communities turning their backs. We can do better. We must. The roots of Texas's homelessness crisis aren't a mystery, they're the predictable outcome of decades of choices that sidelined working people. Housing costs have exploded, with average rents in cities like Austin and Dallas hitting $1,800 a month in 2024. Meanwhile, Texas's minimum wage remains stuck at $7.25 an hour. Do the math. To avoid being rent-burdened, you need to earn over $25 an hour, a pipe dream for many. The state faces a dire shortage of affordable housing. For every 100 low-income families, only 36 affordable units exist. Developers churn out luxury condos, but the people who need homes most are left with nothing. Systemic inequality compounds the problem. Communities of color, particularly Black and Native American Texans, are disproportionately affected, the result of generations of discrimination, poverty, underfunded schools, and over-policing. Mental health care is another failure. Texas's underfunded system leaves clinics overwhelmed and treatment scarce. If you're poor and struggling with trauma or addiction, help is a distant hope. Instead of care, people get jail time, a cycle that traps rather than liberates. Most people experiencing homelessness didn't choose this life. They were forced into it by a lack of options, and instead of support, they face fines and arrests. This isn't just a housing crisis, it's a crisis of compassion, a stark reflection of how we treat the most vulnerable among us. Texas's response to homelessness is a patchwork of half-hearted attempts and outright failures. The 2021 statewide camping ban was sold as a solution, but merely shuffles people out of sight, ignoring root causes. Bills proposed in 2025, like HB 2016 for a housing fund and HB 2754 for homeless veterans, show flickers of promise but are woefully underfunded. The state's $25 million allocation in 2019 for homelessness, mental health, and substance abuse was a drop in an ocean of need, a problem that demands billions, not pennies. Local efforts offer more hope but face steep challenges. Houston's The Way Home has rehoused thousands using a housing-first model, proving what's possible with commitment. Dallas's $72 million initiative housed 2,700 people by 2023, a rare victory. Austin's investments in shelters are notable, but hamstrung by rising costs and public opposition, these programs rely heavily on federal funding, which has largely evaporated. The Biden administration's all-in plan to cut homelessness by 25% by 2025 fell flat. And with new leadership in Washington, federal support is unlikely to materialize. Texas's leaders need to step up, but too often they're distracted by political point scoring while the crisis deepens. The bodies are piling up, and the state's response feels like a shrug. Homelessness in Texas is a wound that festers, a daily reality for 27,000 to 129 of our neighbors. The homeless in America deserve better, and Texas has the power to lead the way. But it starts with us. Like, comment, and subscribe to Daily Homeless News to stay in the fight. Share this content, volunteer at a shelter, write your representatives. Every step counts. We can build a Texas where no one sleeps on the streets, where every person has a home. The question isn't whether we can, it's whether we will. Join the movement. Subscribe now. Let's make homelessness history.